Hello, hello, and welcome to episode number 26 of the SaaS Breakthrough Show, brought to you by Demio. The SaaS Breakthrough Show will be an inside look at what is working in marketing for SaaS companies today by the marketers who are in the trenches, experimenting on a daily basis to grow their MRR and build amazing businesses. My name is David Abrams, and I'll be your host today as we bring on Amit Bivas, who is the head of marketing at Optimove. Amit is a seasoned marketing executive with vast experience in planning, developing, and executing B2B and B2C marketing strategies from the ground up. His sharp skills, creativity, and keen eye for detail, alongside with a strong background in data analytics and statistics, place Amit as a unique combination between the art and science of marketing. Amit also holds a BSc in Industrial Engineering and Information Systems, so he's got both that right brain and left brain going on. In fact, that's a great tie-in to today's episode. We talk about Optimove and how they built this platform that is both the left and right brain of software. We go into a ton of things like how to market a highly technological and innovative product to a new market, how content marketing can be a powerful marketing initiative, especially early on, the exact content strategy that Optimove used that vaulted their marketing machine and became a huge lead generation process day after day for them. How they doubled down on content in an unheard of way. It was absolutely incredible to hear him tell this story, and this is going to be amazing. You guys are going to love this. And finally, the marketing skill that Amit feels every marketer needs to know today to be effective. We really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to rate us and leave comments and questions so we can make sure to dive into all those things. But let's go ahead, let's jump right in with Amit.
This is the SaaS Breakthrough Podcast, uncovering what's working today in SaaS marketing by the actual SaaS marketers who are building companies day in and day out. Let's get started.
Hey, Amit, thank you so much for jumping on the SaaS Breakthrough Podcast with me. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to have you here. I'm super pumped to learn about Optimove. So I guess let's jump right in. There's a lot to talk about. Explain a little bit about Optimove, who your customers are, and what you guys are doing uniquely in the marketplace.
Sure. So Optimum is a marketing technology. We sell to brands which sell direct to consumers. So that makes us like a B2B2C. What we do is it'll be easier to explain where we're located in the marketing technology stack. So we sit between the data layer, the data warehouse, and all that good stuff, where all of the consumer data is stored, and between the communication channels, so between the email service providers and push notifications and all that stuff. And then we orchestrate based on the data feeds those channels. So the idea is to maximize the value of each and every customer by communicating with them with the right channel, through the right channel, with the right message, providing them the best value that they could get in terms of marketing communications.
So that is really complex and really powerful. But I guess just give me a more explanation. Does that mean that you guys save data in custom fields and you basically are just like a data warehouse? And then based on fundamental like scenarios or situations that you set up, it then sends to certain places?
Right. So we tend to explain this, the product as we look at it, trying to find a good example is like two sides of the brain. So you have the left side of the brain, which is, the more analytical side. So that side is where we take all the data, we flatten it, we build on top of it our customer model, which helps, which is a segmentation model. And then it also has a lot of predictive analytics. And what it gives to the marketer is that type of gap that usually they might have with insights into their customer base. Which type of personas they have there, what are they likely to do, what's their predicted customer value, what's their likelihood to convert, and so on and so forth. That is the left-hand side of the brain. The right-hand side of the brain, which is the more round, a creative side, if you will. So we tend to look at that as, the campaign management side of our software. So we take all that insight from the left-hand side of the brain and then leverage that in order to provide the marketer with a very smart campaign management. So there they'd be able to build target groups because we're directly connected with the data and start sending out campaigns. And then the connection between the right hand and the left hand side is the AI layer, which would then, based on the campaigns that the marketer has sent, would say, okay, this works better. This works, this is less efficient. Let's further break down the segments. The AI layer helps finding the white space and further find the potential to maximize customer value. And the idea is that our main KPI to measure success, it varies, because what we do is we treat every campaign as a test versus control. So you always measure the marginal uplift, and then you can measure based on revenue, based on profit, based on visits to a website, and so on and so forth.
That is incredible. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on there with your technology, and that sounds amazing. So I want to go into how you guys have been able to market that. But before I do that, I just want to know, when did you actually join the team, and maybe what the company was like, or the marketing team size was like at that time?
For sure. So generally, the company was founded in 2009. Two co-founders to the company. They met out of the Tel Aviv University. The company was forged from the academic world. So one of the co-founders was doing his master's for operational research. The other one was doing his PhD for machine learning, and they came up together and applied an operational research model into a customer modeling mechanism. So they took some kind of, I won't get into the bits and the bytes, but it's a state machine that's a very common model for operational research, and applied it to marketing, so they'd be able to segment customers into small micro segments, see how they migrate between micro segments, which is parallel to how in the state machine how functions migrate between one state to another state. And then based on that, this model can predict future behavior and can once again segment down to very, very small entities. So that was taken back in the day, and they sold it as a service. So they would reach out to all of the larger retailers out of Tel Aviv, Israel, and bang on their doors asking for, give me access to your data. And back then, 2009, especially here out of Israel, it wasn't, such a common practice to, take leverage data to invest in your existing customer base. So at the beginning, it was very hard to find, people that would be able to, willing to share their data. But we had, success with some of the larger retailers out of Tel Aviv. The idea was, even back then, that it's very, very hard to scale a services company. So from day one, the two founders knew that at some point they wanna pivot into becoming a SaaS company, and the model was bootstrapped. We never took any VC fund. So what they did is they used to teach in the university during daytime, and in nighttime, sell that model as a consultancy service. With the margins, they started developing the software and then hired the first developer, and so on and so forth. And around 2010 or 11, the first version of the software was out there. And back then they just baked that model into a software where you feed it with data, and the output is very robust, granular segmentation and predictive analytics per each and every customer fed into the model. Fast forward around 2013, we rebranded, and then that's when the company was started to be called Optimove. That was the name of the product. And then around 2015, over 60-70% of the company's income was from SaaS licensing, where at that point per se, we're a SaaS product company. I came in around 2012, where to begin with, I wasn't even a marketer. I came in, so as I mentioned, one of the co-founders of the company, Penny, which is today the CEO of the company also, he was my professor at school. I studied industrial engineering, and then I just sent him this type of crass email saying, "Hey, how about we change our relationship from student professor to employer employee?" He appreciated my approach, brought me into an interview, and then I joined the company as a data analyst. So that was the time when we sold the model as a service. So I used to consult based on this data to a lot of B2C firms out of Tel Aviv. So that's when I joined the company, and that's how I started, gaining my marketing experience, even though it's very different than what I do today, because that was like more consulting in the B2C marketing space. And today, obviously, I'm doing B2B marketing. That's when I started in the company.
That makes a ton of sense, and congratulations to the founders, to everyone in this company. It sounds like an incredible journey and an incredible ride. It's oftentimes you see, these services evolve into SaaS, right? As you want to automate it because services is so hard to scale. So
Yep.
it makes a ton of sense. I guess just listening to you guys, obviously very academic, a lot of things happening in this SaaS company, in the product itself. What is there a pain point that you're facing when you switched over to marketing, trying to explain something so advanced as advanced technology, trying to find product market fit for it? Or do you feel like selling in the services first gave you guys a leg up on like how to talk to these companies, who wanted it, how to approach it? Or is that something that you guys had to figure out when you got to SaaS and start talking about it again?
That's a great question. It's pretty much the story of my life nowadays, and for the past 6 years. So the idea is that if you think about it, what we sell is a product that helps brands maximize the value of their existing customers. Now, this is from a business perspective. It's not counterintuitive, but back then, talking about 2010, it wasn't as intuitive. Usually, we'd sell to companies that have a vast online presence, and then the whole entire online world is quite new compared to the traditional businesses. So they've been around, the pioneers for 15 years, and typically in quote unquote off new types of environments, what is most intuitive to the marketer is to pump new blood into the system. So it's much more intuitive to invest into acquisition, but then retention is something that is definitely not a commodity. Something that if you tell a marketer, okay, you spent $10, you bring in a new customer, but then now I'm telling you, spend another $10, and you already have that customer, but we'll just help maximize their value. That's not as intuitive. Today, the story is a bit different, but back then, we had to fight to educate the market that relationship marketing and retention marketing isn't just email blast. It's much more than that.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much the challenge. Back then, today it's more intuitive, and today we're just competing against the other solution providers out there with our unique differentiators. But back then, it was even building a business case was a nightmare.
I can assume it would be like trying to figure out how to explain this complex thing. Like you said, SaaS has moved so much and business itself has moved so much. And there's this idea of now that the knowledge base around education and retention and keeping customers versus just acquisition. So it's incredible that we're here. But let's move over to some initiatives then. Now that you guys, have language and have explanations that make sense, what are actual marketing experiments or initiatives that you guys are running that are bringing in new users? Maybe content marketing or advertising or something like that.
Yeah, so it's a great segue. I mean, from the challenge back then, where it's tough for you to build a business case and to help those marketers that are the decision makers of buying or not buying Optimove on on how and why to do it. So that's why from day one we started doing a lot of content marketing. Two main reasons. One is obviously educating the market because we needed to help those marketers understand that they not only need Optimove or solutions of the likes of investing in their existing customer base, but it'll also become a growth engine to the business. So we invested heavily into content marketing from day one. Um, it's that, and also the type of the DNA of the company. So Penny, one of the founders and the CEO of the company, is some kind of he's a philosopher. So he even used to blog before he even founded the company. So the type of sharing knowledge, posting our thoughts, and generating content was always there, and that helped us justify our existence as a technology provider. But also, in addition to that, once you teach someone something new, they are much more likely to follow your agenda. So then what we saw, the results of this, content marketing is that, we were able to teach people new things. And then, we built our credibility within those people. And then it was, it just made sense that we'd be able to sell to them. And we've seen, the results. It takes time. It's not like, all right, tomorrow you invest in the digital marketing and the day after, the leads are just flowing in. But then you start hearing people saying, giving you feedback in meetings on that blog that they read, or on that article that you contributed on, any, trade publication. And then you understand that there's a lot of impact in that type of content marketing. The traditional ways of how to measure content marketing is, you can measure organic traffic, and then that's how it helped building SEO and stuff like that. But sometimes you can't measure direct ROI. And when you get that type of feedback from prospects, when they say, I read this, it was super interesting. And then, the salespeople would say, yeah, this guy came to us and mentioned the blog and mentioned that they, read this and that article about you. That is the best feedback on we're in the right direction in terms of, the marketing strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to break that down a little bit more because I think content strategy is complex in a variety of reasons. Because one, there's the topical side of it, there's the strategy of what topics are you picking, what are you talking about, there's distribution, and then there's tracking and how you're converting them into customers. So, for you guys, when you were starting, were you going after keywords? Were you doing the SEO strategy, or were you just like, let's create valuable content? And then, if it was that, how did you distribute that out there? Because obviously, when you're doing that, you're often times not bringing that organic traffic from keywords. How are you getting it in front of people that are the right prospects for you?
That's a great question. So, in the beginning, very like romantically, we used to just generate. If we have something that's worth sharing, we do that. We did have from back then, and those are one of the first marketing vendors that I ever started using, a vendor for SEO. And what they did is back then, it was all about SEO strategy, was all about link building. So, that was the common practice and that was the right practice. And then, Google killed that. But always from day one, we optimized the content that we did generate for the relevant keywords. But we didn't write to target those keywords. We wrote because we had what to write and which and ideas to share. And we took that content that we generated and then put it through the SEO machine, being that the vendor.
Love it. Makes a ton of sense. So you did go with that kind of distributed SEO approach, but valuable content. And where were you guys sending people to from that content? Was it just on the blog? You would link to a pricing page? Does it go to a consultation, to a webinar? Is there some type of mechanism that you're funneling them to from your content?
Right. So the content usually would help you position someone in the funnel, how high or low they are in the funnel based on what content they would consume. And then what we do is with a lot of retargeting across any ad network out there, we would serve them with content that would push them down the funnel. So, for example, if top of funnel would be the what is type of content, then you continue serving them on how to content, and then lower in the funnel business cases and use cases. And then what you want to do is our main call to action in the website is request a demo. So once in terms of the content that the reader consumes, you're able to position them low enough in the funnel, then you would start serving them with a call to action of request a demo.
Love that. That is super smart strategy, like a retargeting content strategy. I love that. So as you started growing and you realized that content was working, I'm assuming you guys doubled down on that. How'd you scale that content? Maybe you scaled it into teams or something like that.
So that's another great question. Thanks for that, David. So what happened was up until 2016, I think it was the third quarter of that year, we were bootstrapped. No external investment. We reached 110 employees back then, and then we took our first round of growth capital. We took 20 million with the idea of we started, coming up against, the hugest vendors of the world, the Salesforces, the Adobes, the IBMs of the world, and then to put a fair fight, if you will, with these guys, you need deeper pockets. So we took on growth capital, and then the strategy was, on what to do with this money would be. Double down on where you're strong. And as I mentioned, from a marketing standpoint, we were always strong and heavily invested into content marketing. And then, we started juggling the idea of how do you double down on content marketing? And then the answer was you become a publisher. So what we did at that point, and I think the idea was born around end of 2016, was we're building our own publication. Back then, codename OptiPub, OptiMove Pub Publication, and then we started, weaving this idea into real life. And Fast forward, end of May 2017, we launched PostFunnel, postfunnel.com, which is a content outlet by all means, generating an article a day, um, treating everything and anything post acquisition funnel for B2C marketers.
Wow.
That was our way to double down on content, become a publisher.
And how has that worked out for you guys? That's an incredible idea.
So there are a few phases on that way. So first of all, you want to build credibility. So when we launched, we pretty much kept a distance between the Optimove brand and the Post Funnel brand, because if you position yourself as as a publication that's backed by a business, sometimes that would deteriorate your credibility.
Sure.
And once we reached a certain critical mass of I think it was around 20,000 subscribers, then we pulled out the Optimove brand, because that critical mass already understands that you generate content of very high value. And now that was the point, and I'm talking about end of May 20 a couple months ago, end of May 2018, we pulled out Optimove, and today on PostFunnel you'll see PostFunnel by Optimove, because we have that critical mass and we built that credibility and authenticity that we feel comfortable to pull out Optimove. And now when that happens, you get legitimacy that you can your salespeople could reach out to people that convert on PostFunnel and say, hey, I saw you read this and that article, and offer them additional stuff. So that's how the we convert type of that high level top of funnel readers into MQLs.
That's incredible. And when you actually sat down, maybe you sat down with the founding team or the marketing team and you're thinking through these ideas and you came up with the idea of the publication, did you guys have set goals? You're like, we need to, produce X amount of blog posts or X amount of articles each week, each day. Our goal line for KPI should be X amount of traffic. How did that work when you guys because you came up with a great idea, but going into such a big initiative, how did you handle that?
So our benchmark was always what our blog stats, because our blog was already at a high scale. It was been around for a few good years. However, the frequency of publishing posts was a bit different. So we took that as a benchmark and we exceeded it very quickly, because we were much more dedicated, or not much more dedicated. We have much more resource to develop content within PostFunnel. So we exceeded it very quickly, and we put a benchmark on when we reach 30,000 monthly sessions, we pull out Optimove from behind the scenes, and we reached that around end of May 2018.
Gotcha. So what was the publication amount, or what was the blog posting amount on your blog that you guys upgraded? I'm just wondering from the size of going from a blog to a publication.
That's a great question. By the way, they both live together in harmony. So usually the publication, so the blog is more of Dear Diary. It's very first person, but then the publication is very third person, very looking at things from a higher perspective and trying to analyze it very from a third party point of view. Versus the blog, that's very first person point of view, rounder POV, if you will, and so on and so forth. So they still live alongside, and we still continue to publish weekly on the Optimove blog. And then we have PostFunnel, which we have. It's an editorial team, which we have an editor in chief. We have staff writers. We have a managing editor. We have external writers. It's a pool of around 15 external writers. So it's a content machine.
That was an incredible idea. Really, kudos to you guys. That was so smart to double down on that. I hear a lot of people saying they double down on content. That's been a channel that's worked for them. You guys really, really doubled down by building that entire editorial team, publication team. So congratulations to you guys. That's amazing. What about KPIs? Does the blog KPIs look different from the publication KPIs? Is it all just around generating MQLs, or are there different things that you have to look at on both?
So the KPIs, how we see it from a marketing standpoint, is derived from the company's from the business KPIs of the company. So there's a revenue goal for the year, and then we reverse engineer it into how many MQLs that we need to generate, what the conversion rate that we need to generate in order to hit those goals. So that's how we do it, and then we gauge how many leads would we be able to generate off PostFunnel, how many leads would be able to generate off search, and so on and so forth, out of events, which is also a big channel for us. And then what we do is we build a business plan according to that at the beginning of the year. And obviously, moving forward on a quarterly basis, we measure how we are in in comparison to our goals and adjust if necessary, or just see that our initial plan was great and continue at the same pace.
Love that. That's super smart. So goal in mind, break it down from there, break it down by quarter, by month, by objective, stuff like that. That's amazing. And what about the biggest win?
Yep.
What, since you've been there since 2012, what's been the biggest win for you?
So I think that obviously post funnel was a huge win for us. I think that when I started, it was so as I said, I started as an analyst, and at some point there were requirements for a marketing team, because up until then we enjoyed a lot of organic leads, and at some point you want to take that to the next level. So I pivoted. It wasn't me. It was Penny, my CEO, that decided. You know what? Let's try you doing marketing. And back then we had someone halftime doing a lot of content. So it was me and him. And fast forward 2018. Today I have a 19 people staff, a 19-person staff,
Wow.
and that for me is a huge achievement. Building up from something that was very low budget, very guerrilla style marketing into much more structured, a large team, very facilitated. That for me is a huge win to today look back and see that type of trajectory and that type of story, a business story. That for me is a huge win.
It's congratulations. It's a gigantic win. It's amazing to hear that, and it's exciting, and it's also inspiring. So congratulations to you again. And looking forward, now that you
Thanks.
have the publication together, you have momentum in the marketing team, the company is still growing, you have this growth round in. Where are you guys going to evolve in 2018, or is it just doubling down more on what's working?
So I think that in terms of marketing infrastructure, we built it all, and now it's just building up. So we built
Mhm.
the base for everything, all the mechanisms, all the marketing technologies, all the stack is there, and now it's just building more scenarios, more journeys, continuing to enrich that. And in terms of markets, so we're now also looking into penetrating Asian markets. Currently, we're serving North America and EMEA, and we're looking to penetrate, as I said, Asian markets, and additional business verticals. So currently, we serve retail, we serve subscription-based businesses, we serve the gaming industry, and now we're looking into financial services and so on and so forth. So it's both expanding geographically and widening, the range of business verticals that we service.
Makes a ton of sense. It sounds like a lot of work, but a lot of fun for you guys in marketing there.
Yeah, it's challenging, man.
Always is. It's the next growth steps. But based on time here, what I want to do is jump over to our lightning round questions. This is just 5 questions that we'll go through. I'll ask you a quick question. You can answer with the first thought or first piece of advice that comes to your mind. It's really fun. You want to get started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. What advice would you give for an early stage SaaS company today starting marketing?
So I'd say first and foremost, probably hiring, that type of round talent that's strong both in his right and left side of brain. Because I mean, if I'm looking at my example, I used to roll my sleeves, build campaigns on digital marketing, write blogs, and then again have the ability to analyze and understand what works and what doesn't. So you want to have like that type of all around player, because marketing is something that you can learn in academia. But you need to also get your hands dirty and roll your sleeves and touch things in order to build that type of experience. So I'd say hiring that round type of talent, and giving him freedom to start, obviously with certain boundaries, but giving him freedom to start building the marketing org.
I love that. That was a great answer. What about a marketing skill you think is vital for marketing teams to improve and build on today?
Wow. So I've been asked this question before, and the first thing that comes up is storytelling.
Hmm.
It's like I like to look at this as like if a chef is an amazing chef and he knows how to cook great, but he doesn't plate his dishes very well, it won't be appealing, as even though it could be delicious. So storytelling is all about plating. You can have an amazing product, but if you don't tell its story correctly, so it doesn't worth nothing. So I think that if you're able to build that type of ability to do good storytelling, that's a game changer.
Any recommendations where to learn to tell good stories?
A lot of reading good stories, reading books. That's how to build that skill of storytelling. And I think that it's something that it's also something that there are people in the world that have it and people that don't have it. So just the ability to find people. And when you hire people, so you can ask them, to tell them as a job interview question, tell me the story of your life. I always, when I interview people, what I say is, marketing is all about storytelling. Tell me the story of your life.
I love that question. That is a great, great question. What about the best educational resource you'd recommend for marketing?
Google. I think that everyone's done everything already. If you write the right query into Google, you're going to get an answer for everything. Even taking it back to when I was like an analyst and I started coding SQL, I had no idea. I asked Google and it answered. And then today, looking for best practices or looking for different strategies, Google, and build the right network of your peers, which can also help you share thoughts and ideas. But Google knows it all.
Google does know it all. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease to do the work to do it. What about a favorite marketing tool you can't live without?
So it's a good question. I think that the tool that I use on a day-to-day basis, and it's my task list, and it's my everything and anything, is my email. But then it's probably not a fair answer. So I would say LinkedIn. LinkedIn, because us in the SaaS B2B world, you get a lead come in. You want to see if it's viable or not. Look them up on LinkedIn. You're always going to get a good answer. Company size, stuff like that. So LinkedIn, searching for job candidates, Google is your place. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. Sorry, did I say Google? I meant LinkedIn.
You said LinkedIn first. That's perfect. What about a brand, business, or team that you admire today? Last question.
Wow. I would say HubSpot. I think that, those guys have done an amazing job with content marketing. And as I'm a big fan of content marketing. And, I definitely aspire to those guys. And, I visit and read their content, on a regular basis. And, I get some great ideas from what they're doing. So, yeah, HubSpot.
Yeah, they're a great company. I've seen them on stage a couple of times at SaaStr, and incredible story, incredible company, and doing amazing things. So really good answer. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today, sharing so much amazing info. I learned a ton, some really great answers there in the lightning round as well. So really appreciate your time, and thanks so much for sharing today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David. It was a great pleasure.
Oh, wow. That was an incredible episode. Really, really, really just a big thank you to Amit, to the entire Optimove team. Just their story is incredible. The years, the time, the knowledge, the education that has gone into their product. And it's just going to be exciting to see their product continue to grow and build in this space. Hope you guys took a ton away from today. I think the idea behind their content machine, how they really, when they said double down, they really doubled down by going all the way into creating a publishing blog all around their industry. They've really become big-time leaders in that space because of it. Now, if you'd like to meet Amit and other SaaS marketers just like him, you can join our SaaS Breakthrough Community Facebook group. It's a free group where we have people talking about SaaS marketing and all the cool things that are going on. You can join there in demio.com/FB. That is to access our Facebook community. We would love for you to leave us a comment, question, rating on iTunes. This stuff helps us get this message and this podcast out to more marketing and education teams like yourselves. And we really, really do appreciate your time listening. So enjoy your week, and we will see you in the next episode.